Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I want to just have a brief conversation about the fight that took place on Real Housewives of Potomac on, was it Sunday? I don't even know what day the show comes on. I know a few weeks back I did a recap of episode 1, and I really thought that this was going to be a show that I could review on a weekly basis, but I just did not feel pulled into the storylines, which is why I didn't start watching it from season 1. I just didn't feel particularly interested in those women's lives. And I know that that might sound shitty to say, but I barely watched Atlanta, and that was like, you know, the go-to thing to do on a Sunday night for the longest time was to watch Housewives of Atlanta. But I just kind of fell out of interest with some of the reality shows. I'm not completely sure why. It's not a judgment on those shows. I think that they can be entertaining. But yeah, I just didn't feel it. So, but I did continue watching this season. I just didn't find it interesting enough to recap every week. I do have a good friend, Nikki Lauren. She and one of her close good girlfriends, Brittany, they do a really awesome recap every week. I'm gonna link to their YouTube channel in this episode description so that you can, if that's the tea that you need, you can get it from them. You're not gonna get it from me. I don't care enough. But I did feel called to chorus about last night's episode because they brought up a few things that I take issue with when we talk about Black women in reality TV. When I was coming up, there was all this judgment about video vixens. And I remember older women saying, you know, this is bringing Black women down, and we can't expect for people to take us seriously or to respect us when we're, you know, shaking ass on camera, half naked. And I remember even as a really young girl feeling like it didn't quite make sense to care about the judgments of people who would judge an entire race and gender of people based on the actions of girls in videos. That never made sense to me, and it always made me feel like if you live your life so that, like, in hopes that white people won't judge you, who are you really living your life for? And I had that question a really long time ago, and as I've gotten older and come into myself more, read more, understood more, it doesn't really matter what you do. People who are racist, people who benefit from or take part in systemic racism, no matter what you do, that's who they're gonna be. So the issue that I had last night with the fighting, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. As an adult woman, I hope to never get in another fight in my life again, because it's just like, girl, why? I don't know, but like, I keep my nails so long. Do you know how painful it is for one of these to break on the Reggie? Could you imagine what would happen in a fight? Oh my God, like, no, thank you. And then besides that, I worked so hard on maintaining and managing my own emotions. I don't like the thought of allowing someone to take me to the place where I want to physically fight. However, I do believe that everyone has a limit. I do believe that it is human to feel anger and to feel rage. And I think that it is a tool of white supremacy to use the angry Black woman trope as a means to control Black women's behavior. That's what I think that is. I think it's just, we deal with entirely too much in this world from all sides to not also be allowed to be angry when we need to. That being said, Monique has been really weird and annoying this season. I don't know what she was like in previous seasons, but I find the bird weird. Girl, what? I found her behavior at the lake house really weird. Like, why did it bother you that much to not be included in this conversation? I find her to be kind of strange. She seemed a little bit off kilter. Is that the word I want to use? She seemed a little bit off. And I don't have any frame of reference to say she wasn't like this in previous seasons, because I don't know, but I know from what I saw, she didn't seem to be a person who was fulfilled. Okay. Candace from what I gather, is a person who's used to talking shit, popping off at the mouth, whatever. Now, again, I don't condone people fighting, especially adults, especially over nonsense. However, if you are a person who does not fight, you probably should not run your mouth in such a way that you provoke a person who does. And that's what I think Candace did. Candace did a lot of what Kenya Moore did to Portia that one year on that reunion, where you push and you push and you push, and then when you finally get what you're asking for, then you're the victim. I don't like shit like that. It may not be a good reflection of my community, or maybe it is, I'm not sure, but where I come from in the great city of Atlanta, East Point to be exact, you know, Southside, stand up, we learned a really long time ago, words have consequences. And you cannot just say anything that you want to just anybody, because everybody is not going to take your words as lightly as you may want them to. You just can't. You can't go around saying whatever you want to people. Words have meanings, and words oftentimes have consequences, and for some people those consequences are physical. And I think when we see these white women losing their shit on black people in public spaces, and then they get the shit slapped out of them, and they're standing there looking bewildered, because it's like, well, why did you escalate this to something physical? And it's like, well, why did you say what you said to me? So from my perspective, the person who instigates the fight should be looked at with just as much judgment as the person who threw the first punch. If you do not want, for me, a verbal argument like the way those ladies argue looks just as crazy as a physical altercation to me. I did not think the fight was that big of a deal. I have seen far worse in real life. I was just like, okay. I was on the phone with one of my friends, and he was like, I found it disgusting. It was disgusting. It was embarrassing. And I was just like, have you ever seen a fight in real life? Like, that was nothing. And maybe that's a reflection of just my upbringing, and maybe I have just normalized that behavior in my mind. But I do believe in giving people grace when they have been provoked. And Candace, from my perspective, provoked Monique. If you're not about that life, if you're not prepared to face whatever the consequences of running your mouth or whatever it is that you're saying, watch how you talk to people. I don't even think that it's fair for you to go through life being able to say whatever you want to people without there ever being any consequences. It's just not okay. And for people who don't fight, I get really annoyed at them being the kinds of people who will provoke a fight and then, throw a rock and hide your hand. So the example that I like to give sometimes is, if you walk up to me and you slap me in the face, and then I, in return, stab you, it's like, okay, well, you done involved a weapon and you done drew blood. Why did you have to escalate it to that place? Fair questions. However, why would you come slap me in the face if I was just minding my business? If you are not prepared for what the consequences may be, don't be running up on nobody like that. I'm sorry, I don't feel bad. I'm not judging Monique. And what I found disgusting was, number one, Giselle seemed to be instigating this whole thing from the beginning. I found that to be disgusting. I found that to be embarrassing. The other thing that I found to be embarrassing was Wendy. The classism jumped out. I don't understand how you are constantly flaunting your education, you're constantly flaunting your 4 degrees and your role as a professor at Johns Hopkins University, how educated you are, how successful you are, how well spoken you are, but you sat up here and used respectability politics to judge this woman, to say, we're out here fighting for a seat at the table, but then you act like this and this is why we can't get one. That's not why. These are separate issues. What happens within our community is not an excuse for systemic racism. When you say stuff like that to me, you're upholding white supremacy. And you're upholding white supremacy from a place of privilege, of being educated, and I'm in the room where it happens, and we can't blah, 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 blah. I really don't enjoy people bastardizing our struggle or our position in this country as Black women to bring down another Black woman. Like to say, well, we as Black women and blah, 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 blah. Black women have the right to feel rage, if not anyone else. With the shit that we deal with, like, are you nuts? Between racism and misogyny, we get it from all sides. So if anybody should be allowed to be angry, it's Black women. I'm not saying we need to be out here constantly fighting or not using our words where we can, but to vilify Black women for being human, I'm not with that. And I keep seeing people say this whole thing about, well, why is it always Black women fighting? I don't know if y'all watch different TV from what I watch or different social media from what I watch, but everybody fights. And that you think that that's unique to us is a reflection of your limited understanding of the way the world works. Like, have you ever been around white people? White people fight all the time. All the time. The Real Housewives of New Jersey, they get down. Teresa Giudice or Giudice, however you pronounce her name, she's iconic for losing her shit in public and flipping a table. It's one of the best GIFs you could ever see. Is it GIFs or GIFs? I always forget. Anyway, like, why would you take ownership of that? Why would you take ownership of violence that everyone displays from time to time? Girl, what? And apparently now they won't film with her for the rest of the season, and they're treating her, from what I gather, they're treating her like she's a violent criminal. And I'm just like, are y'all really that far removed that you don't know that sometimes people just fight? It's not a reflection of their character. It doesn't make them a terrible person. I could see if they were going around picking fights every 5 minutes wherever they went. That's an issue that I don't get down with. But to vilify this woman because she had a moment where she was provoked, really? Like, Giselle is full of shit. I'm sorry. That's a joke from my perspective. That's a joke. And I tell you this, I bet Candace won't run her mouth like that to anybody else. I'm sorry, but sometimes people need to be put in their place. They don't understand words, and she got what she asked for. Is violence the answer? Rarely is it ever, but she got what she was asking for. If you are not a person who fights, don't run up on people and provoke them to fight you and then play the victim. Girl, what? Like, I don't want to see us keep using the words of the oppressor to judge each other. That's just nuts to me. You can keep the classism, the whole, oh, this is so ghetto. You ghetto ass, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. And, like, I was more disgusted by the response to the fight than the fight itself, to be honest. So, and maybe I'm biased because I have been in fights before, and I don't say that like as if I'm proud of it, but it happens, and I don't think it's fair to even take away someone's opportunities because they had a moment. I remember when Cardi and Nicki got into that fight at the Harper's Bazaar Icons party, and they were just like, oh, Cardi, this is gonna ruin Cardi's career and blah, 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 blah. It did not. Portia's career was not ruined because she chin-checked Kenya for waving a wand in her face. Like, I just don't think that moment, a moment where a person has provoked you to violence, I don't think that it should ruin your life. And I say that with a lot of stipulations. These were two women. I'm not saying that domestic violence is okay. Don't, be obtuse and pretend that that's what I'm saying. I'm saying very specifically in these situations, big deal. Okay, so what? And I can honestly say, like, there have been times on like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta where it's been like, now why was that a fight? That didn't even seem necessary, where people were just like running up out of nowhere, moving tables and chairs, and no one even knows the cause of the fight, where it's just like, well, why were you upset? Y'all can just sit down and talk about this. I think that that's different. I'm speaking on this incident. And then also, while we're on the subject of reality TV, I'm confused about how and why now all of a sudden Nene is just so pro-black and so this and so that. But when the money was good and they were treating you how you wanted to be treated over at Bravo, you were just a very rich bitch and you were enjoying your life. Now they're treating you, they're making you feel like the black girl. Now all of a sudden it's racism. Now all of a sudden it's discriminatory practices. But as long as you were getting the check that you wanted, it was all good, right? So don't use this moment or this movement or what's going on nationally because it's convenient for you. I don't enjoy that, and I question the sincerity. Like, I'm sorry for whatever discrimination you may have actually endured, because I'm sure, I mean, we're all, who among us, you know, gestures broadly, who among us, but don't try to take advantage of everything that's going wrong right now to now try to, you know, jump on the bandwagon of, oh, I ain't heard you say nothing about Black Lives Matter, since now you feel like yours doesn't. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I don't have any smoke for Monique. Shit happens. Like, shit happens. Candace got what she asked for. So that's all I have to say about that. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. And for those of you who feel like Candace was oh so wronged, drop down in the comments. Let me know why. Okay, talk soon. Bye.